Hey traders, Nick Shaheen here, looking at the recap for 817. This is a monthly expiration, which usually carries a lot of volume. Okay, so let's start with Friday. Friday to me is a win for the bulls. In fact, we just got stronger on a headline that Trump and China and the U.S. somehow plotted a roadmap for negotiations through November and possibly a meeting between President Trump and Xi. So that means if that's true, I don't know the details of it, we literally just hit it, then they kick the can a long time, and that's usually bullish because the market will put the blinders on until then. And one thing that wasn't clear in there, that if there was or wasn't a moratorium on additional tariffs, meaning if they said, okay, we're going to meet in November, then between now and then we don't do anything. I think we've had one of those before and it didn't quite work. Kind of like a ceasefire that doesn't take into effect. So we shall see. So this week, I mean, the day is definitely for the bulls. In fact, this is the S&P, and this was the open today, and this was the bottom of the day. It felt bearish because everything was going the bulls' way. I mean, the bears' way. Nvidia had corrected a lot overnight, but then recovered. Micron went green after being down like $1 or whatever. That's a big move on Micron. Same with Intel. The China trade flipped on a dime on that headline, of course. These are stocks like Hua and IQ and FXI. I've shared them with you. Facebook did the flip. But anyway, that was down in the morning. And more importantly, Tesla down like 9%, if not more, on heavy volume and terrible news. So everything was going the Bears' way, yet the game was not even tied. It was green. So if the Bears thought they were winning, they weren't looking at the scoreboard, because if everything is going your way and the game is tied or you're still losing by a little bit, chances are you're not going to win that game. So advantage bulls on Friday for sure. Almost the same exact comments for the week, and let me go get a picture. So Friday we talked about that. Here's the week. This is the SPY. That's not a bearish week. This is the first week in 3 weeks to be red for the NASDAQ, but we are like an inch away from all-time high. This is the small caps. That is not bearish. So they're tightening and they're banging against high levels where there's either going to be a letdown or a breakout. And in light of not having any new headlines, it should be a breakout for as long as the bulls are in control. There are a few big elements in there. We'll talk about them in a little bit. What about next week? Okay, so next week we do have a few things to talk about. Tariffs, obviously, that's number one. It's still the issue there because we don't know what the headline is going to be. Maybe it'll be a reversal of this. No, this headline was bunk. Then we give it all back. That's number one. Home builders, I think, reporting soon, and that is a big real estate is a big part of the economy. So if they spook us by delivering a crappy report, then we may give back a little bit of this green here. Currency, huge issue today, huge issue of late, just because of what's in the news. It's a big market. Bond market is big. They kind of like move together, and if they do decide to move one way or another, then we're just along for the ride in the stock market. So that's another one that we need to worry about. Is the lira going to devalue more? And then a new one that came up yesterday is the Fed chair. Powell is going to be testifying in Jackson Hole. So his words do and will move markets, whatever he says or doesn't say. Okay, so we do, and Tesla. Why do I say Tesla? It's only one stock. Sentiment. If Tesla recovers, usually I say, okay, I need rabbits, and I pick a good rabbit and a crappy rabbit. If the good rabbit fails, then forget about the whole market. If the crappy rabbit fails to fail, in other words, if the crappy rabbit finds footing and rallies, then there's a good chance that it's game over for the bears. So that's why I use them as gauges. So we are setting new lows for Tesla on the day, $305. That's like a $30 move down, almost 10%, 9%, $30 move on heavy volume. So it's legit. Is it capitulation? I don't know. It's the most shorted stock. So it's heavily shorted, and these are covering shorts. So they're covering their shorts and booking profits, the shorts. But somebody's pressing the short. Maybe there's panic, people getting out of it. 300 has been a psychological level, but it has lost it before. So, and not too long ago. So this is Tesla recently. And by the way, I shared this chart I think yesterday, and boy did they come fast, those two. But we had it from before and before. So technically, it's just playing out technically. If there were no headlines, I would expect these to happen, either this or that. So forget about the headline. So we've seen 280, 290 before. This was the goal on the breach of that. So here we are. Look, I'm jumping ahead. I didn't want to discuss Tesla, but anyway, so Tesla is, here's what I see, as they say on TV. Okay, this cluster right here, what happened? The loss of this to make this happen. Support, then they finally lost it. I can't remember. Going into the earnings, something happened. Maybe that's when the tweet broke. I can't remember. No, the tweet happened after the earnings, or thereafter. And here we are. Now what? This is big volume today. Not as big as earnings, and not as big as the tweet and follow-up tweets, but it's pretty good size volume. So we shall see. Actually bigger than the earnings volume. Anyway, maybe not. This is the earnings and this is the tweet. Okay, so it's a headline stock. If I have longs, I protect them. Today I had longs and I booked some of the protection. I didn't book it as profit. I rolled it out because I'm still long via debit call spread or lottery-wise. So we're one headline away. Small amount is one way to nibble at it. I will have write-ups of other trades that I have later on, but let's finish up with next week. The events. We have also, I think, some economic reports, but nothing major. I can't remember from memory, but you can look it up. Levels. Okay, I'm going to go back to a daily candle and go to FANG. I recently shared a video on FANG. FANG, this is Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and 2 Googles. Netflix had like a correction just in 1 week, so I nibbled long. I'll share it in writing. So here again in Netflix, in FANG, they do have more room to go, but they're approaching a bounce level. But if this bounce level fails for whatever reason, they could come back to here. So individually, that translate like the video I shared. I'm not going to do all of them. I'm just going to do one. And this is Google. Somebody said they wanted to go long Google now by selling puts at 990. It fits, but it could see 1170 to split the difference between 1180 or 1160 if this neckline doesn't hold. Okay, that's just one. Apple today is the star. It propped up the markets in the morning. It's up to a new high. I bet you anything, money flowing out of Tesla into Apple. And so it's a safety play sometimes if somebody's nervous about the markets. So this is Apple versus Tesla on an hour chart. Almost mirror image of each other. That's my guess, that money's flowing out of one into another. So we'll get Tesla out of there. So the levels are important, right? Because price action, if you turn off the news, it's going to happen one way or another. So this is the S&P. The S&P just punched through this little guy, which should bring this area. But there is resistance. Where? Right here. So somewhere around 285 on the SPY, 285.7, 285.5, they're going to start hitting the brakes, or at least headwinds. Conversely, I worry about this little open gap. Kind of like open gap on the down, open gap on the up. Maybe they cancel each other and they say, okay, this never happened. I don't know. But if they do lose the recent low of 283.3-ish, then we may fall to 282.3, another dollar or so. If we fall to 281.5, I would not freak out. Meaning, if we revisit this, no big deal. This is, what is this? This is 1 year. So this is still, the bulls are in control. There's nothing bearish about this chart yet. Okay, so this is the S&P. The small caps similarly situated, and in fact, there is a breakout more imminent than the S&P. So a little bit more, let's say 168.9 or above. Let's call it 169. Above 169, they may catch a bid to try to get this finally once and for all. We don't know, but it is there. So the setups are there. I'll share some write-ups. Meanwhile, again, the win for the Friday is for the bulls for sure, for a lot of reasons, even for NVIDIA. NVIDIA, the crap du jour, is down 4.5%, but you know it showed first of all, it's down less than it was supposed to be down, and I'd like to catch a falling knife, but that's just one day. It may meander. Like this is, look at these two candles. Look at these two candles. It may get another down and then meander and then go back up. So I need a better entry point. All right, Nick signing out. If you have any questions, let me know.